You gotta take control. Life's too short. Get out of your head, make a better life instead. You gotta give it all your best. So put your hands up to the sky and live your best life, alright. Don't just let it go by, just try, oh my. Got only one life, got only this.
Hello and welcome to the Marko Yamashita show. I am your host, Marko Yamashita. It's been quite a while since I have been able to stream live due to various circumstances, most notably my health. But I did want to try to at least get home and stream this live because it is a quarterly event of the topic that we cover on my channel on a regular basis. So as you can see here on the screen, we are looking at a monthly view of AnyColor's stock price and their stock movements, as you can see over the past year to date from January all the way up till today. AnyColor Inc.'s stock price has risen by 76% over the course of 2025, which has been a dramatic shift from what people were originally claiming for AnyColor, saying that they were Dunzo and that the company was failing and everything like that. If we drill in a little bit deeper here, actually if we zoom out all the way to the earnings report from last year up till the earnings report to yesterday, we can actually see a 114% turnaround in the stock price from Q1 of last year, where people were heavily criticizing and slamming the company, versus where they are today. People were saying that the EN branch was going to have to fold, that they were going to eliminate it completely, and of course none of this is true. None of it ever came to fruition. The EN branch still exists. The branch is still alive. They have not consolidated them into just Nijisanji in general. That a lot of stuff that people were saying never happened. Sorry to say. Well, actually, I'm not sorry to say. Sorry, not sorry. But that's pretty much how things work. There are a lot of people out there who talk a lot and they don't know what they're talking about, and people just kind of nod their head and say, yeah, that sounds about right, and then they go along with it and they have no idea. And then someone who actually knows what they're talking about comes along and tells them something different, and they're like, wait a minute, really? And that's exactly what we have here. I mean, this is Q1 of last year. When they you can see here 11 September 2024, and they had a horrible quarter here, first quarter. They explained exactly what was going on and why they missed all their markers here, all of the forecasts. And from Q1 here all the way, this was Q4, and then they had the serious jump in revenue and with market share here, and then we have Q1 here where they exceeded expectations in every single category, which even took me by surprise, because I didn't expect them to be able to make that kind of turnaround the way that they did. Now I am we're gonna drill in here. We got 4 minutes before the opening bell kicks in, right? And my feed is, I get a latency of up to 1 minute delay with my feed. I pay for a live feed from the Tokyo Stock Exchange, so My feed is about as live as you can get without actually being in Japan, you know, and having a terminal there. So I'm just going to cover this extremely fast here. So this is a 5-day look here, and as you can see, there has been a gradual climb here. However, this gradual climb here is extremely different than what happened with Cover Corporation in Q2. The gradual climb here, and you see all the green down here, all of this is from people who are buying long on margin. All right, none of this is short selling from what all the information I've been able to see and find, either from the Nikkei or from Yahoo JP, which also does a good job of tracking people who are buying long, people who are buying on margin, people who are short trading. As far as I can tell, short trading on AnyColor has been steadily declining, and if we drill all the way in here to 1 day here, we could see a lot of selling, a lot of people closing out their positions here. We can kind of take a assumption that, you know, perhaps these are a lot of shorts that are trying to close out their positions before a huge spike occurs, or people are getting really jittery about it. The last data that I saw, there was probably about 10,000 shorts that were closed out, around about there. But unfortunately, they don't have to report that kind of information except for on a weekly basis for the Nikkei itself. But we do have smaller security firms that do the handling and processing of short trades that do give us little bits and nuggets of information of what they handle on a daily basis. Now I'm going to take us off of percentile here. Okay, so we are on the yen amount, and we are 45 seconds away from the market opening. Now, I do want to say stress here, at the close of yesterday's market, they were starting to go into a short squeeze here. Whether or not that carries over into the opening of this market, we'll see. If it does not pop immediately either direction, we know that there was an automatic market halt when the market launches. All right, so here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we are live. Green lights on. We are live. We have not seen any market reaction yet. We'll give it a few minutes. As you can see on the right panel here, Tokyo Exchange is live. Nikkei's live. Everything is live. Nothing. So this means two things. All right. This means two things. This means that the breaker has automatically been thrown because a 10% move has already occurred. So whether or not this means 10% up or 10% down remains to be seen. This could be a 10% down. The people who, all the short traders dumped all at once and moved down before it spikes back up. More than likely, this is an upward move, but how big of an upward move, we don't know yet. This might be one of those 10-minute waits before they release the breaker and allow it to pass through. We're not entirely sure here yet, but we are live with the market. The market is live, so we do know that the breaker has been tripped. All right. Yeah, other interesting thing is that none of the metrics moved either. So, yeah, we are definitely in a holding pattern here. So, since the metrics haven't moved, let's switch to our. There was a plus 0.10 before it tripped, so something did slip through. So somebody did get a trade get through there, very small one. Oh, not so small. That one trade that slipped through. Oh, right there, right there. Is that yesterday's? Okay, that is yesterday's. Okay, so all right, so we're gonna put the line here at the percentile. Since we know it's gonna go up or down by a certain percentile, we're gonna watch and see how far up or down it actually goes. All right, so while we're talking about this, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of talk about a few other things, but I'm gonna do my best not to block the actual chart for when it moves. So quick recap of everything that has happened since the report has been released. Something that I found extremely interesting was the fact that their live streaming revenue actually took off and was higher than I had originally expected. And I'm not entirely sure. I do know that they have a platform for them that is more of a members only, and then they also have a few other platforms that are essentially Japan only, and they're not totally reliant on YouTube. So I know that they have a number of other platforms that they're using besides YouTube, which they're getting memberships and club memberships and everything else off of. But there was a notation in the data that they did notice a decline in super chat revenue, which I believe is also a carryover from their Q4 of last year. And to that point, I have noticed that as well for a lot of their streams when it comes to some of the ones I've sat in over the last couple of months, just to observe and see how the fandom acts and reacts in their streams. That there aren't as many people sending super chats as they if they were a cover corporation VTuber. But it almost seems like it's because of the way the presentation is also handled with between cover and AnyColor, and that they don't have that kind of a lot of them don't seem to have that type of dedicated allotment of time of just kind of downtime chat with their viewer before they log off type of thing. So a lot of people like to throw those out at the end to tell them various things or good job or whatever. But that doesn't seem to detract from the fact that they do seem to have a strong live streaming presence that still manages to pull in the amount that they are looking for. But commerce, by and large, has taken off. And something I also found when I was going back through my archive was that certain people that are critical of AnyColor were awfully perplexed about why AnyColor was being so aggressive of saying we want we want X amount of our revenue coming from commerce. And it was like almost like this specific person missed the memo that it's not just AnyColor, it was also Yago from Cover Corporation. He had been saying it for the last 2 to 3 years that merchandise was going to be the driving factor behind revenue of Cover Corporation. And likewise, if that's going to be the driving force behind Cover, it's going to be the driving force behind AnyColor as well. And it was like, she just did not get the memo, or she could not contemplate that because she is a singular VTuber. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. I just saw you pop in there. Thank you for coming. I am still getting used to this change in screen here. Alex, yeah. My chat window looks a little bit different, and I think it's partly because I haven't used OBS in so long. It updated, and I haven't had a chance to do everything the way I wanted. And there's a few extra bells and whistles here. But welcome, Alex. Welcome. Thank you for stopping in. We are at 8 minutes now since the market opened, and the stock has been halted. So we are still waiting, and I have a sense it's gonna pop here in about a minute. We'll see. We'll be anxious to see here. Let's see if it pops here in a minute. And if you're wondering where I'm getting that time is down here. Because typically that they hold it for 10 to 15 minutes before they let it go. Let's see. And reminder, I do have this at percentile up here on the side. Oh, there's 10 minutes. They're not letting it go yet. Okay, maybe it's gonna be 15 minutes. I promise you that the market is open. I did promise you that. Let's see. We'll throw the Tokyo Stock Exchange is open. Of course, that is not gonna move much. Okay. See, now look at the Cover has gotten a huge bump. They've gotten a 4% bump off of AnyColor. Look at this. We'll switch over here real quick. Actually, hang on. I should be able to dual screen this. Come on. There we go. Look at this. Look at this. Cover Corporation jumped 4%. It's falling now, but they jumped 4% off of AnyColor's back, and it's gonna fall because there is a tremendous amount of short sellers. Short sellers are gonna have a field day with this. Okay, they're already bringing it down. Oh man. I mean, they popped. I don't know if there's probably not enough people to. I mean, this would be the opportunity for short sellers to cash out for them if we were looking at that. But they still have not moved for AnyColor here yet. Yeah, let me close this out. So we're still in the holding pattern here. But it is really interesting because this this particular measuring tool down here, this is basically a momentum squeeze monitoring tool here. And if you look at the little dots here that are on either side, of the greens and the reds, when you start seeing these orange ones here, as they get darker, that means that a squeeze is working its way into the price point. And the squeeze could go both ways. It could squeeze, the squeeze could come in and it could send it plummeting, down into a heavy sell, or the squeeze could come in and it could shoot it up here. Like if you look right here, there's a yellow one, and then it went very dark orange, and then it immediately sold off. If you look back over here, you can see some orange, and then it rose up, and then it released before it went back down. So but when they went to a close yesterday, they closed on a decent high note there. But we are at 15 minutes and they haven't released it yet. What the heck is going on? Okay, so I won't cover this. Okay. I'm not. This always happens when I start looking. It'll pop up. Let's see here. Tokyo Stock Exchange. And let's see here. there. I don't. I can't find anything on it. Let's see here. Don't tell me. This is weird. I mean, I've seen it halted for like 15 minutes, but I've never seen it held this long. And let's see, let's check over here. Nothing on the market there. Let's check. Let's check. When in doubt, check the message board at the Yahoo. Okay, so practically everybody in the Yahoo JP message board is speculating just how high it will go because it's being held for so long, and they are holy. Where are they seeing that? Okay, apparently there is apparently there's a feed that they're saying that there are people that are saying that it's above 8,000. Where the heck are they seeing that? That can't be right. That can't. Where are they seeing that? I want to see it with my own eyes. Where the heck are they seeing that? Please let me see that. Where are you seeing that? Broken market board. Yeah, it's completely. I mean, they almost always release it by now to at least show what it is before they like completely close it. But stock performance, business performance, company info. That can't be right. I want to check something else out here. Maybe just holy it went up. It's going up. Okay, it's released. It's released. Finally it's released. Okay, we're flipping it forward. Flip it forward. Okay, so it went 14%. Okay. That is quite a jump. I think that would break the bulge. That breaks the bands. Okay, that is a high jump. Oh man. Okay, 5650. It jumped 14%. For those keeping track, Cover Corporation managed to leech 3% off of AnyColor's success so far, and they are probably going to halt it. No, it looks like they I don't know if they no, okay, so they are not halting it. So they are they're probably a lot of shorts that are trying desperately to get out of their positions right now, because there are a pretty good sized amount of shorts that how many were there? I believe there was something around 200,000 shorts. Last count, there was approximately 227,000 shorts that had not covered their positions. So that's probably what you're seeing right now with these candles. I mean, right there alone is 73. Some of this is probably also profit taking, because there is the credit penalty margin, people buying on margin. There was an increase of 149,800, going to a total of 891,700 margin shares bought before the Q1 report went out. So you would probably also have those people trying to close out of theirs as well, to just be able to close out their positions, to collect their earnings and repay their margin buys. But yeah, as you can see here, I mean, there's already been 863,000 trades on AnyColor, and they usually on a good day get about 1 million, and on a regular passive day, I mean, 800,000 is probably normal. So there's a lot of action going on there. I kind of feel sorry for Cover Corporation, because I mean they're still holding on to 2% increase, but I mean that's only 51 yen. So now, me personally, I'm gonna be straight up with you guys, since we're talking two different stock positions that I hold shares in for both of them. With Cover Corporation, I would I am still strongly bullish on them making a recovery by like Q4 of next year. Their stock price has, gone all the way down to like 1491, and then been able to recover up to 3200. So I don't, I don't feel the panic to sell on their shares quite yet. With AnyColor is very much a different bag. For me, seeing them this high, seeing them at 56.50 right now, that is on the lower cusp of where my 12-month forecast was initially for them for this physical year. And this is just, I am a newbie when it comes to a lot of this stuff, but I try to at least practice and be as educated as possible when I'm talking about this stuff. But my forecast modeling for them was between 56 to 5800 yen per share. And so for them to be where they're at right now, that's on the bottom edge of where I would, say that, that's where they're going to be. With them hitting that forecast this early, I'm seriously considering revising my forecast for them upwards. Now, where would I revise that forecast up to? I would. Let me show you down here. All right, so we're right here. We're at 56.50. All right. Now the pro analysts here, they have it locked in at 52 to 660, right? So we're at 56.60. My top end was here at 58. I would now use 58 as my bottom measure, and then I would look at 7,000 as my top. That is that's where my thinking is going right now. That is not that is not a for sure forecast for me, but that's my thinking right now. Look, just kind of eyeballing what I'm seeing. But that's based on only what I've been looking at, and that there's no research behind it. But if they're able to keep up the same performance that they have right now, I would seriously consider it. Now, the other big thing that I would ask myself at this point is, okay, they've hit a 14% jump in their share price with their Q1 report. If they're able to hit all 4 reports going forward, and they're able to hit a 14% jump each and every time, we're looking we're looking at what, a 56% increase in their stock price by this same time next year, which would not be out of the realm of possibility when we look back at the last 6 months. We looked at before this stock price went up. They literally were able to hit that complete turnaround, that 180 from Q1 of last year all the way up to Q1 of this year. They had a net growth of over 100% in their stock price. So for them to hit a 56% increase by next year, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Cover got carried by AnyColor. Yeah, they did. They literally got carried by AnyColor, and it's kind of, in a way, I it's really sad. All right, it's really sad because, and we have honestly, we have a tale of two different ideals and VTuber companies at this point. And this is something that I am going to try to make a point when when I do my video of I have a couple of videos that I've been storyboarding here this afternoon, and one of them is basically it's a tale of two different VTuber companies. One VTuber company is doing what they are basically like the active day trader who is trying to trade futures and use options and short trade and make big bucks doing that. And then the other one is the investor that follows the philosophy of people like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and those legendary investors that they say stick with what you know, do what you do, trade with what you know how to trade in, know your circle of confidence and work within that circle of confidence. And that's basically what AnyColor has been doing, right? I mean, if you look at Cover Corporation, look how much money they have sunk into and lost along the way, trying to break into and dig into the U.S. market. I mean, they've devalued their own company by 86 billion yen. And yet not one video from the criticizers out there about that. Where are they? I mean, honestly, where are they? I mean, we just had a 700 yen change on AnyColor, a company who they claimed was DOA, that is now 5650 they're trading at 5650, and they're now worth, I mean, they started today worth 300 billion yen. They're going to be worth way more than that by the end of closing based on their market cap alone. But yet you're going to see it, and it's really the irony is out there. The irony is going to be out there because, I mean, if I went out and I looked at I looked at VTuber Sensei's blog, not one article about it, and he always had jumped on right on top of it. And who knows, maybe he fed all the information through and the AI could not give him anything to criticize them on. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of maybe the feeling I got for it, but I don't know, right? But there was not one squeak out of him, and maybe because he couldn't find anything to criticize. I mean, I don't know. Went over and looked at Lydia. Lydia, of course, she was talking about anybody else other than Nijisanji. And it's like, okay, you didn't say anything about them. And it's like, okay, I mean, where are the criticizers? I mean, you guys said that they were DOA, they weren't going to make it to next year, and the EN branch was going to collapse, and there was going to be no more EN, Nijisanji members and all this other stuff, and and it's because they're sticking with what they do, with what they know, and they are expanding upon that and improving upon it. I mean, if you look at the presentation, and we're gonna transition from that it looks like it's gonna stick at 56 up there. So we're gonna transition from that to this real quick. Full screen. Oh. And why is it oh, it's locked. Here we go. Okay, so I mean, if we look at Nijisanji and an objective set, mindset, right? Live streaming, that is going to be what it is, right? They projected 13 to 1400. That's they hit it right exactly in the middle where they want it to be. Commerce, they nailed commerce. They exceeded what their expectations were, and they hit the high end number. Events, they blew events out of the water with much more excitement and enthusiasm than they thought they would get. Promotions, of course, they did excellent with promotions. 44% after paying their VTubers and their support staff. Afterwards, after they paid all their SG&A staff, they came out with 31% net profit margin. I mean, that look how easy that was. That was extremely easy. It's easy to make that kind of money if you actually try, and you're not throwing all your money around doing 5 different projects at once and trying to get them all done at once with staff that don't know what they're supposed to be working on. I mean, it's really not that hard. But I mean, it's see, this is what I like about AnyColor reports read like a glowing company with OPM 44. They look like color. Well, here's the thing. All right, cover hides a lot of their data, and AnyColor just puts it out there for you to actually digest. I mean, look at this slide here in particular. Okay, at first I didn't notice this until I started storyboarding for a particular video that I was about about to make a script for, right? This particular screen here that is a cost breakdown. They take all the support staff that is usually combined in the operating profit that ends up in this margin here. This operating profit with this margin here, this includes the pay, the amount of pay, the platform fees, the merchandise fees, and all the other stuff for the VTubers and the livers, and their support staff, right? But then you get over here and they break it down even further. The chart on the left for the direct variable cost on this page here is specifically for the livers, and the chart on the right here, the chart on the right includes the support staff for the livers on that side instead. And you can corroborate that because there is a chart at the very end of this article of this report that shows an exact breakdown under COGS and SG&A where the numbers match up to what that first chart says. So when you look at the chart in actuality, the cold hard truth is that Nijisanji spends 44.1% of their total revenue on their livers specifically. That's off the top. That's before anything else, before they even pay taxes. They spend 44% on their livers. That means that the other 55.9% goes to pay for everything else. But that big chunk goes to the livers. The rest of it goes to pay for, all the buildings, the equipment, and the people who work the warehouses and ships all the does the forklift stuff, and runs all the machinery to get the pallets to and from different places and all that other fun stuff, booking the venues and all that other stuff. That's where that's what the rest of that money is going towards. I mean, people forget that when we look at this and we see events, and we see promotion, and we see commerce, and we see all these other things, there's a lot of setup that goes behind that has to be done before those events can actually happen, and that costs money. And they just don't recognize that you have to spend money in order to get these events and these promotions and the commerce to be able to have these kinds of sales drivers, to be able to for them to make the money that they are bringing in. And it's very disingenuous to say that Nijisanji does not pay their livers when 44% of their of Q1's revenue went straight to the livers and to the platforms that they do their work from. And people complain, well, I mean, they're only making X amount of money live streaming. Well, duh, because it's no longer just about live streaming. I mean, for them, they are livers. They are not just VTubers anymore. They are actually, part of a bigger system in the ecosystem that consists of more than just sitting in front of a computer and being, an avatar for 8 hours a day. It's more about that. There's more to it than that now. I mean, they are part of a greater whole, of an organization that is built around being able to use them and their voice to be able to get them out there so they can sell that person to other people to get them recognized, so they can be a bigger person in the spotlight that they're trying to get. That's not rocket science. It really isn't. Yeah, we could check that cost breakdown connected with the financial report for cover. Talents get well, and here's the thing. Here's the rub. When you check between AnyColor and Cover Corporation, you can check across the board and you can see that on an average basis, it does look like Cover Corporation does pay them less. But here is the thing. When you have to remember, and this is very, very critical and very important, that you have to remember with every VTuber and liver that is employed by Cover Corporation and AnyColor, they're on a contracted basis that have built-in initiatives and key milestones that they have to hit, and that's why it is called a direct variable cost, because it varies based upon their activities, how many times they stream, how long they stream, how much they bring in through super chats, how much money comes in through their memberships, ad revenue, whether or not they get selected to be part of a sponsorship for pushing a particular product, all these different types of things. So you do have to kind of be careful with that. However, you can also guesstimate based upon the information we have, that you can break down how much the JP branch gets, how much that the EN branch gets. And by the way, I will throw this out there. This is something I will, to show that I am unbiased with this. They do have a year on year of negative 0.05. However, they did lose 5 EN branch people to graduation, which more than likely is the cost of why they this number went down. It's because they had 5 less people to pay. There were 5 less people on payroll that they didn't have to pay, so that number would obviously go down. And the same thing would go with I had to kind of laugh when I looked at this, right? Because you had 5 less people on the EN payroll, right? Yeah, 5 less people on the EM payroll. However, when you look at the EM payroll for Q1, they actually made more on Q1 than they did on Q4. How did that work? They had 5 more people on payroll, and yet they still made more money on live streaming on Q1 than Q4. How'd that work? Same thing with commerce. How they managed to make more in commerce with when you had 5 more people on payroll? I mean, it doesn't quite make sense, but it's like, okay, I guess I'll just roll with it on that one. Of course, you don't get much of the promotion, but there was, most of the promotion involved with Q1 was purely on the JP side. So, they wouldn't have nearly as much involvement with that, but still, I just had to kind of laugh at that a little bit, but hang on, I want to check, just to show you that I have not completely abandoned this. It does look like that they have locked in 5650 for today, and that is what it's likely going to hang at for the rest of this trading session. Not uncommon, especially when you have a 14% jump like that. Tomorrow, just to look at things. So tomorrow, a few things that are on the economic agenda that could affect Japan. Either indirectly or directly. We have the U.S. payroll that could severely hit the U.S. market, which could ripple over to the JP market. Just something to keep in mind. The inflation numbers today, it's still today. The inflation numbers today did not seem to have much of an impact, but the CPI and job numbers seem to have a bigger impact. JP Japan's market. There's nothing serious with the Japan market for the rest of the week. So it seems like mostly U.S. Economic factors may have an indirect impact on the U.S. or the Japanese market. But if AnyColor continues to carry over their momentum, which they have, they have more than done many times, that this number could still go up for tomorrow, and cause I seriously doubt that the 73,000 on this one candlestick here is all there is on short traders trying to get out of their position. So there's probably going to be quite a bit of more buying and an additional squeeze of these guys trying to get out of their positions, or trying to cover their positions, which could shoot it even further. So we'll keep an eye on that. So, but let's switch back to the report here. Boom. Okay. So yeah, there were a couple other things that did catch my eye on this. So for Q2 looks very interesting because it looks like Q2 is going to be more of like a holding pattern, because the time, and well, it says it right up here, due to timing and balance of schedule, initiative, revenue, and profit for Q2 is expected to be the lowest within this physical quarter. We are currently preparing for expansion of initiatives for the second half and beyond. All right, so it looks like they are going to be more subdued for Q2, which is where we are at right now. Which honestly, when you have a big first quarter, taking that kind of like that's that big inhale and that take a break kind of thing isn't unexpected. Q2 always seems to be kind of one of those breaks in between for AnyColor. AnyColor does seem to have more of a backloaded type of momentum builder. However, with the business models switch that they did last year, they did try to make it with momentum from Q1 into Q2. However, in this case, it looks like they are working on something more significant for Q3 into Q4, which, I mean, that's great for me. I mean, these numbers here look more than adequate, and they reflect basically what they had from last year. So, keeping the ship righted, holding the line, straight down the middle, business as usual. That's perfectly fine. Especially if you are looking to, work on something bigger coming up. And honestly, this is kind of what you would want for, from a business as an investor, as opposed to saying, oh yeah, by the way, for the next year, we hope you are happy with a net margin of 4% instead of 12%. Yeah, be happy with that. But please don't cash out your shares, because we're gonna finish this sooner or later. I mean, that's kind of what Cover is saying. Especially for this year, it was kind of like Cover was saying, oh yeah, for all you shareholders out there, instead of the regular 13% that we've been holding at for the last year, we're only going to be making 7% for the first half. So, be happy with that, but please don't take your money out of our company. We should be able to get back the 13% by the second half, but if we don't, please don't take your money out of our company. But we're also not going to be doing any stock buyback programs or any dividends or anything like that. But please don't take your money out of the company. It really felt like that, and I'm sitting there going, you are not giving your investors anything to work with here. Absolutely nothing. It's like, ugh. It just made me want to like just kind of jump through the screen and say, what's wrong with you? But it's and that again, this is what I really like about AnyColor versus Cover Corporation. Again, they are extremely upfront, regardless of what any other person, any other hater, any other anti, any other Sintiater, any they are completely upfront with their data and with what they're doing. As far as what I can see, as far as a business, it seems like they are, extremely transparent. They present transparency as far as I've read hundreds of balance sheets and investor relations presentations since I've started doing this. I've read hundreds of them, and AnyColor's is probably the most straightforward I have seen out of any company I have ever read one from. And I have read, a lot of them, including like at one point I was looking at investing into Mitsubishi, but you probably don't realize just how large Mitsubishi as a whole, as a conglomerate really is. I did not realize how many arms of that company there were. So I looked at the conglomerate and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to pick one of these and then see if I want to invest in it, because there's just no way I'm gonna understand all of it. So for people to come out and say that AnyColor hides their black company-ish nature, I don't see it. If any company is being sneaky with what they're doing or what they're saying versus what they're doing, I have to admit that Cover seems to be more disingenuous than AnyColor. And it's not that they are a black company, it's that they choose to window dress their shortfalls and hide them behind pretty words and other pleasing things to the eye, so hopefully you don't see it. And that's exactly what they do. Versus every time there has been a shortfall of whatever, AnyColor has basically admitted to it and said, this is what we're gonna do to fix it. So yeah, honestly, no, don't read Mitsubishi. You're dying at every meeting, man. You know. Well, here's the thing, And by the way, I did want to comment on this screen real quick. I'm not sure if they reused an older slide of this one, but I did notice that the numbers have shifted again on this, and whether or not they're making a firmer commitment to live streaming or not, I'm not sure. But this number did seem to change. I thought revenue was like 66%, but now it's 65%. But I could be remembering it wrong, but I thought that these numbers were different. But yeah, yeah, you know, reading quarterly reports and balance sheets are, I've learned a great deal of patience. Here's that slide I was talking about. They stated revenue remained steadily unchanged, while membership and ad revenue has been steady against a backdrop of growth in number of views. Super chat has decreased. You know, I mean, they've come out and said it. You know, they did come out and say it on page 41, but they came out and said it. You know, at least they came out and said it. You know, but let's see here. So, you know, my thoughts on this right now. I think that they are in a very good place, and let me explain back on TradingView why. Okay, so this number again, this number is not gonna likely not gonna change until tomorrow, and they have it frozen or halted at this level. This typically will ride out through the rest of the day. Tomorrow's opening will be a deciding factor of whether or not this number continues to rise or fall. So we'll keep an update on that, and I'll of course post it either in my community tab or on X, where that number ends up being. So keep an eye on that. So, but what I'm going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to go into AnyColor's financials here for a bit in my dashboard. And when we look at their balance sheets here, one of the interesting things, and one of the things that the people in the Nijisanji network subreddit don't understand is that the money that they spend on dividends and stock buybacks, it doesn't directly come from revenue. All right, it comes from retained earnings and paid-in capital, and it comes from the shareholder equity. That's where it doesn't solely come from it. It depends on by company, but for AnyColor's case, that's where it came from. All right. Now, some people would ask me, well, how do I know that? And the answer would be is because if you look at let's see, if you look at oh wait, there it is. Okay, so when you look at this and you look at the treasury stock, and then you look at treasury stock, and you look down the sheet here, this is where you start seeing that you see a 2.5 billion, a 2.5 billion. You'll see some other ones here, and the treasury stock here was closed out and bought back through the money that came in here from retained earnings, and it was paid purely through paid in capital. And what that means is that people who actually paid cash to buy stock, and we're not talking like financial institutions buying stock. We're talking people buying cash, and saying, hey, I want to buy 1,000 shares and here's cash for it type thing. Part of your cash flow, that's how it was paid off, right? So now when you're talking return earnings, you're talking residuals and everything that is brought forth after they pay all the employees, you pay all the bills, you pay all the rent, you pay all your utilities, and you invest all your money into your short, mid-term, and long-term plans. When you have residuals, you put them into, well, this is pretty much kind of like you put it into your wallet, or it's not a savings account, but it's kind of like your wallet, right? And you carry it forward. That's basically what this is, all right? So, this is basically where they pull the money from, right? Now, when they canceled all these shares, if you notice, the number did dip. The number, did dip here for a little bit, especially right here. It did dip, but then, it dipped here, but then it went up here, because there was even more people that were interested in trying to buy AnyColor's stock for Q4, because they had an explosive report which brought in lots of equity for them to have residuals and retained earnings. So they did another stock repurchase program, because they brought in over almost 3 billion, 2.6 billion, something like that, yens. So they did another stock repurchase program, and they knocked that back down to 11. Actually it was 2.9 here. Let's see here. 2.5 here, sorry, and then knocked it down to 11. And then within 1 year of doing the stock repurchase program, which everybody shamed, and called was a failure, they are back up to 21 billion yen in 1 year. So everyone said, oh, you spent all that money and it was, it was a waste, and things were negligible, and that was a failure, and it didn't help the stock price any. And all I gotta say is, ta-da! 1 year later, and we're up to 5,600 on their share price. That's basically what it comes to, is that you have people who tried to shame AnyColor for doing the business thing of again, paying their employees 44% of their total revenue off the top, paying their libraries 44%, then making sure that their market capitalization and that their business stayed financially secure, which they did. Oops, that's calendar. There we go. I mean, if we come back here and we look at their statistics, and we look at last year coming into this year, and if we look at their valuation here alone, their enterprise value has gone, it went from 154 billion in enterprise value, and 2023, their horrible year, that they did lose 120. They went down to 125. But then last year, the one that people called a failure, and that they were wasting their money, and that they basically spent all this cash and they had nothing to show for it. They went from 125 to 212 billion yen in enterprise value, and 1 month later, after that year was completed, now they're up to 284 billion yen as a company value. It's very hard for people to tell me with a straight face and me believe them that they wasted their money. AnyColor's stock price crush cover even if we don't pull them off their IPO. Well, I mean, you do make a very good point there. I mean, it's really strange. It's really strange. Okay, it's really strange because if you look, if I mean, they went up and they went down, didn't they? Up and down, up and down. It's kind of like you go up the snow hill to ride down the snow hill. I mean that's a mountain that you would definitely want to ski off of and make a perfect landing. Okay, so I mean, let's look at this. I mean, let's seriously look at this, because I mean, I find this rather intriguing. All right, now people they always say, okay, well, Cover is a growth company, and Nijisanji isn't, right? Well, okay, Cover tried to get out of the growth category into Prime, and they failed. All right, and there are multiple reasons why they failed. The first failure was because they were caught shortchanging 1 billion yen to freelance people. I don't care what anyone else says. That is a factuality that came up during the investigation, and probably one of the main red flags that came along. Because if you read further and further documents from Cover Corporation, you'll actually see that they had to do a further review of their books and pay other people accordingly. And that's what their statement said, that they had to pay other people accordingly on a case-by-case basis. So they found more people that they had shortchanged other than the 1 billion that they had to pay off that was found. So that's all I gotta say about that. But yeah, so they try to get out of growth and into Prime. So I don't care what people say. They tried to play with the big boys, so they get to be sized up with the big boys. All right. When we look at the valuation of either company, Cover had 2 good years, and then they fell back. They fell down to 117 in enterprise value, right? And for those watching who don't understand what enterprise value is, it's an alternative way to determine a company's value other than the market. It's a less popular alternative to market capitalization, but it can give a more clear picture of the company's true value, because of the way the formula is arrives at its conclusion. However, there are positives and negatives for both of them, so it's good. It's good to measure both of them, all right? But if you look at the market or the enterprise value for both of them, I mean, AnyColor's at 284. Cover is now less than half of that. That's a big owie. You know, and I don't get it. I don't get why, even if you are a growth company, why would you allow your company to be devalued so much that it gets down to almost the same enterprise value as when your company went public? It doesn't make much sense. I mean, you start getting into their return on assets and equity, and I mean, AnyColor blows them out of the water. I'm sorry, it's hard proof. I mean, this is just hard proof. Numbers don't, the numbers don't lie. They're not quite double, but they're getting close. They're getting darn close. And it's like I told someone else earlier. We really need to see something from Cover by Q4 of this year to have for them to have any redeeming factor as a company to their shareholders. Before that, that faithfulness is really shaken from them. I mean, yeah, you can have the most likable and cute and cuddly and most charming people out there, pushing your brand, but if the company behind the brand can't even stand on its two legs because it's bankrupting itself, I mean, part of what is part of what's keeping Cover's value so high is their intangible assets that are all digital, that are part of their IP that's linked to their name and to their product. Basically their digital assets. That's where most of their value is being held right now, if you look at their assets. And this is another thing that people like, they really tried to they really tried to hone in on with AnyColor. Right now 4.3 billion yen of their total assets is intangibles, and most of these are, if you look at the balance sheet, most of these are digital. Whereas if you look at AnyColor, their most of their assets are spread across between most of them are in cash and short-term investments, and then they're spread across that, and then you have some in total receivables, and this is basically money that has already been taken in for product that hasn't been shipped yet. Either they're like the ones that are limited time that need to be made, after the window closes, or they're the made to order type products that you pay ahead of the time, that kind of thing. So that's where that is. And then if you start getting down into intangible assets, I mean, they only have 168 million in intangible assets. I mean, that's not that big. I mean, so people often trash them for a lot of that stuff, but I mean, they're not necessarily trying to build an entire digital ecosystem and hoping to maintain it, because it surprises me that they're spending so much money. I mean, they've already front loaded 3.2 billion in funding for this year for their projects, right? So if they spend 3.2 billion and say like 3 billion of that goes into Hollow Earth just to develop it into whatever it is they want it to be by the end of the year, how much I'm wondering how much are they going to have to spend just to maintain it after that? You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, you have to spend money to maintain it, and servers and all that. What, baby? Sorry, my cat is extremely crabby because he wants to go to bed, but I am still awake and I'm streaming, so you have to wait. Usually he climbs up on my lap, and we either watch a VTuber and he falls asleep, or I fall asleep in the chair and he falls asleep with me. So sorry about that. Let's see here. AnyColor attack price crushed. Yeah. And they don't recognize it as a cost. Yeah, exactly. In the world of Charlie Munger, try not to invest in a company. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot. When I look at AnyColor and Cover Corporation, right? AnyColor seems to understand the difference of where things are at right now, and that when you look at what AnyColor is doing, and then you look at the criticisms that are being thrown at them by the people like in the Nijisanji network and subreddit and all those people, they don't understand what they're trying to criticize, right? Because I mean, there were people out there that that were saying, there is no way they can recover from this. They completely effed it with the U.S. market. They can't imagine them expanding in the Japanese market any further. They don't, they have no, room in the C market and everything else. And what have we seen? We've seen them grow and expand in the Japanese market, and it's because the Japanese market, and to a lesser extent the Asian market, is what they know. It's what they've built the initial concept around. So they are, they go back to what they know, and they start, restart and build from there. You build your foundation. You still have your English presence, just like your Korean presence. They may not be, a acknowledged or a recognized top tier brand, but you don't need them to be a top tier brand overnight or within a month or even within a year. The way I see them doing things is very much They, they have been, they've been weeding out the people who don't want to stay there, or the people who are, they just want to, they're just waiting out their contracts, and then they're getting rid of the people who had, been causing trouble. And, from what I've read and what I know, I think some of them, they had to wait by law until certain time frames had elapsed before they can let them go. But, if they've been able to make and bring in more money, with those people gone versus when those people were still there, that makes, that says something. If you have 5 VTubers that were there and you are making less money versus 5 VTubers that are now gone and you're making more money because of it, that says something. It's a start, and that's exactly what they're doing. You gotta do what you know and do it well, and then you gotta work out from there. But you have to actually understand what you're trying to reach into. And quite frankly, AnyColor likely did not realize what they were trying to reach into, and that's why they thought, okay, well, we'll just apply what we do with the Japanese VTubers over here with the English ones, and everything will be fine, when the culture is completely different, the work ethic is completely different, and the attitude is completely different. So it's no wonder that they crashed and failed. So I mean, that's why you have what we see on screen right now, though, is you have this complete 180. I mean, look at this 180. This is the 180 that I'm talking about. This is where they were a year ago. All the way down here, people said that they were donezo, that they were dead in the water, that they weren't ever going to recover, right? And now they have now grown 144% in the last year. Tell me that tell me that the demise of AnyColor Inc. was grossly exaggerated, because it was. And quite honestly, I will drink a beer to that. Because that means that all my shares of the company have grown over 144%. And I'll take it. I don't care what any Redditor or any person on the internet says about it. I got paid. I got paid. If you invested in the company, you got paid. I would rather sit here and get paid than sit there, as a better person behind a keyboard, gnashing my teeth and saying, "Oh, F you, Niji," and not get paid. I got paid. I don't care about it, But, yeah. So if we, and if we come back and we look over at Cover Corporation, I mean, Cover Corporation has, until Cover Corporation can actually produce a solid quarter, which they haven't. Let's be clear. Cover has not been able to produce a solid quarter. It doesn't matter what other person, streamer, or anyone else says. They have not produced a solid quarter in over 3 quarters, 9 months now. Okay, they've missed 9 straight months. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the big revenue number says down here, or what the big revenue number says that the other person has told you about. They have missed 9 straight months in their earnings reports. and that's why they are below 2,000, and they're struggling to stay above 2,000 right now, right? Until they can deliver a solid quarter report, they are not going to be able to get rid of all of the short sellers keeping their price down. And that's basically, what's keeping their price down right now. They have, where's that? As of last count, they have over 641,000 short selling shares that are currently unsold. And to put that into context, that is 3 times the amount AnyColor has against their stock price. And so every time Cover Corporation's stock price tries to go into a run, the short sellers respond in kind, and the price goes back down. But you also have a tremendous amount of margin traders buying long shares as well. So they're banking on having Cover Corporation eventually breaking out of their funk, however long or short that may be. But yeah, so I mean, if you are, and again, I own shares in both companies. All right, people often assume because of the way I talk that I'm a Nijisanji fan. I don't know what the derogatory word is for it, if it's a Niji sister or whatever the heck it is. I don't care, right? I'm just a guy with a computer that owns stock in both companies, and I like talking about both of them. The good and the bad. If I had to say one thing about one bad thing about AnyColor right now, is that they have one hell of a year to live up to now that they have performed this well so early. They have a lot of expectations to live up to now. VTuber sensei, that my eyes hurt. Look, yeah. I mean, there are people. Okay, look, there are people out there who write these very lavish essays or on their blogs, or on Reddit or wherever, right? And they make some fair points. I will give them that. They make some fair points. However, they basically skim off all of the positives in what can be said about a company, and they never talk about what is the current challenge in the company, right? You could sit here and say, Cover Corporation right now is investing a great amount of money, time, effort, and staff into building a new virtual world that will be able to display an unprecedented 3D concerts in real time while you are there live in a virtual arena with the VTubers live in concert, but Yeah, but they are expecting their investors to cough up 3.2 billion yen up front. They are devaluing their company by almost 40% over the past 6 months, and they are currently expecting to make maybe 7% net over the next 6 months, which is probably why most of their VTubers are sitting there scraping the bottom of the barrel looking for games that are at least a year or two old to play, because they really can't do anything else right now. Anybody else notice that, by the way? It's like, it seems like a lot of them are just kind of stretching to try to find something to do or play. I was sitting there, I'm like, when did Roboco play Mahjong? She's never played Mahjong. I don't ever recall her in all the years I've watched her play Mahjong. All of a sudden, she's playing the Dream Match Mahjong with some other dude, Japanese guy. Why is she playing with this guy? What's this collaboration about again? What? I'm like, okay, I guess. I mean, I like Mahjong, so yeah, I guess I'll watch it. You have Corone. You have Corone playing Hogwarts, and that game's been out for a number of years now, and it's like, she's never played Hogwarts. I don't remember. I couldn't remember if she ever played Hogwarts or not. I'm like, wow, she hadn't played Hogwarts yet. Wow, it's like, well, why are they playing all these older games? And it's like, well, I guess because they are just waiting for the next round of new games to come out, or they, because of their sponsorships or whatever, their collaborations with other companies, that they can't play other games that are coming out, and they have to wait, or I don't know what's going on. But so basically what AnyColor does, well, honestly, for what it's worth, I mean, I never really got into any of the English livers that AnyColor had. I'm trying to think. I think there was probably one or two I would watch, and I watched the one because she was a very big Metal Gear fan, and she did that whole marathon of playing all the Metal Gear games. And me being the big fan of the series, I really enjoyed watching her play through that. But other than that, I watched a couple of the JP, a couple of the JP livers, but that's about it. Because I just, I'm just not a huge fan of the way a lot of English speaking VTubers conduct themselves, to be honest. But and it's nothing against them. They can be great talent. It's just some of the ways that they conduct themselves just kind of rubs me the wrong way. But that's because I am a particular type of person who likes a particular type of person that is acts a particular type of way in front of me for them to be entertaining towards me. So that's just the way I am. But let's see here. Remote 3D is what AnyColor did last year. Really? I did not know that. That's very interesting. That's extremely interesting. Hey, look at that. Uh, cover cover Corporation is 3 months early, but they're already hanging Christmas lights. Is it too early to start singing jingle bells and Christmas carols? I shouldn't laugh, but I just find that funny. No, but seriously. So, what we're gonna do going forward, guys, right? Is so I'm gonna let this play out. We know that we know that AnyColor's stock price is going to be locked here at. Oops. We know that AnyColor's stock price is going to be locked here at 56.50, at least until tomorrow, right? There's likely going to be a lot of volatility tomorrow at opening bell, so we can expect the unexpected. It could go even higher, it could go lower, then higher, it can go higher, then plummet. It's all a matter of what who it beats out who with the short sellers, and then people who are trying to buy. Trying to buy the dip from the short sellers. People that are, people buying on margin and all the other people. So who knows, right? But I mean, there are already a lot of people speculating, like on the Yahoo message board, that they are speculating over 6,000. Some of them were speculating up to 8,000 by tomorrow. Who knows, right? They're speculating, so that's what they do. I try not to deal in speculation, because if you deal in speculation, you get in trouble. All right, so we try to deal in hard facts here. All right, so we'll leave it for tomorrow. I'll be working on pulling a more thoughtful encapsulation together of everything that we've talked about today, including the quick TLDR video that I did earlier today, so that way we can have kind of an encapsulation of what exactly brought us to this point for AnyColor. There will also be a secondary video on a couple of things that I wanted to clear up between what has been said over the past year versus where we are right now, because it'll bring things into more context and into more focus on why things were done the way they were done, and why people should really learn to understand what they're trying to talk about. And then we also still have that over 200 question answer thing from Cover Corporation that I started on it, and I got really irritated with in the process, because I just got really irritated with some of the answers that Yago and Yosuke Kaneko were giving, and I just had to put it down, because I was getting really, really mad and irritated by their answers, because it was like, they were giving like the courteous Japanese, South Park, oh, you big American, oh, us Japanese so small, but you big American, us so small, Japanese so small. It was kind of like the answer that they were giving. It's like, dude, just give us a freaking answer. Just give us, tell us what is really going on. Just give us an answer. It doesn't have to be an elaborate one. Just tell us. It's like, why are you hiding the truth? I don't know. Kaneko and Yago both. Sometimes I think that they are working things through their head, and because they are, they are working things through their head, or now their fellow executives are working things. They're basically like micromanaging their respective area, that they just don't have the answer, and that particular executive isn't there to answer it, so they just try to give off a answer in hopes that it can placate the person asking the question, because again, they are passing off responsibilities for each particular department or area to another executive, which in a way it can, that can be fruitful with leadership, but it also makes communication that much more essential. And I kind of get the feeling that communication between all of them somehow, some way, isn't quite clicking, and it may actually be making things slower, which would would kind of make sense in a way, because if they're not all constantly talking to each other or constantly meeting, then things can get backed up and missed. When you have too many executives managing too many different things, and you are trying to get different things done that are being managed by different departments, if you are not in constant communication with each other, to be able to provide oversight for the people below you, you're going to have the problem that they are having, and it's going to take twice as long. But what do I know? I'm just big American, and they are just small Japanese. Anyways, so we will do that. We will be working on that for the rest of the week. Into the weekend, we will keep an eye on the rest of this stuff. So please keep an eye out for the rest of that. I also have, if I'm able to, I do have a couple games that I do want to stream, because I've been sitting on the, well, one of them I've been sitting on because a friend of mine did I did ask a friend of mine to do some artwork for me for a game that I bought that I want to stream, but even if I don't stream, I asked them to do some artwork for me. So I'm waiting for them to finish that, but basically it's for Metal Gear Delta. I've been playing through it just to see how the controls are, and seeing how responsive the game is, and stuff like that. Just playing through their very first part, and and seeing how it works on my computer, and it works pretty well. And then I also have Borderlands 4 that comes out tomorrow, and then I also plan on getting Silent Hill Forte or F or whatever it is. So there's going to be a number of games that I really do want to stream. So hopefully things will clear up to where I'm able to stream one of those games at some point. But then again, I also still plan to put out these videos just like I have been. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up the one every 4 to 5 day pattern, or if not, get more of them out. Now that I've developed a routine, I may be able to get 2 out a week. We'll see. So but other than that, everyone that stopped by, thank you very much for dropping in. Glands, very much thank you very much for dropping in. Whoops, I zoomed in too big on that. Yeah, get my mouse over here. Alex, thank you so much for being in here, my friend. I know you are on the other side of the world. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you in the live stream. I appreciate all your comments. Thank you so much. I see that we've had quite a few lurkers come in and out. If you are new, thank you so much for dropping in. I never I never demand people talk in my live streams when I do them. I just appreciate your presence. Whether you talk or not, you are welcome. And if you do end up wanting to talk, the only thing I ask is that you be respectful towards each other and to me. That's the only thing. So but all you lurkers out there that have come and gone or are still here, thank you so much for dropping in. I truly appreciate you guys. It's actually, I just want to take this time, since I am live, to thank you guys for a great 2015 or 2025. We have crushed so many milestones here this year that's I did not expect. I mean, we started off the year at 780, and we're now closing in on 3,000, which, I mean, to me is just completely awesome. I did not expect to suddenly just light things off like the way we did. Thank you so much for all of the support. I appreciate it. And and we're still unmonetized, and that's fine. Like I've said in my intro video, I'm unmonetized. I don't expect to be monetized. I pay for everything myself. Everything I do on the channel, every tool, every piece of software, everything I pay for myself, because this is what I like to do. And if at any time things do become available for monetization, I'm not gonna ask or demand or beg for any of it. It's gonna be there, and if people use it, they use it. If they don't, I'm not gonna beg for it. That's just the way I am. So the big thing is I appreciate you. So thank you so much for the support this year. Thank you. I have no words other than to say thank you over and over again, guys. Let's have a great rest of the year. Let's hang in there. Let's let's keep on going here for the rest of 2025, and we'll see you on the next time. Until then, guys, this is Marko Yamashita signing off. Peace.